What is it attracts you to the horror genre?
Aside from being born into the horror genre, basically, it's there's such a great community about it. It's like we were like the cool kids that nobody knew were cool because we were like had our own clique going on. I also think that it's like people always say like, oh, all these like big huge action movies and romantic comedies and all this other crap, but the genre, I know, did I say that out loud? I did, so obviously I'm a horror fan, right? They're really hard to make, they're really cool to watch. It's just the adrenaline thing, man. I mean, it's just what we do, it's what we grew up loving. I mean, some of the very first movies I remember seeing were like my first drive-in, I saw Gremlins. So it's like that just sort of started my love for it, and it's also an opportunity for me to be like the final girl. It's like I get the Scream Queen title. That's pretty awesome because that's not, I'm the girl that gets to survive. I have to like prove myself and overcome the obstacle, meaning the killer essentially, and make it to the end. And I'm the girl that you root for, and I'm like your sister or your best friend or your girlfriend, so that's pretty much what draws me to it.
What is it that you feel stands out for See No Evil amongst the horror films?
One thing I really love about it is the Soska twins. I mean, they bring like a whole different element to it. I mean, again, being the final girl directed by men, 99.9% of the time. So for me, it was like, wow, I wanted to see what chicks could do for this. And I was such a big fan of American Mary, and being a wrestling fan and loving Kane and getting a chance to sort of mix those two worlds was really cool and different than what I am used to. I'm used to like, the lurking killer in the bushes with like, long POV shots. And this movie is a roller coaster. You're in a maze with this monster that can't control his actions because of his upbringing. And teaches me like I need to be a good mom when I have a family. But it's cool that he's got a story to tell, and it's a pretty brutal story. So the kills are different. The first one, it was all kind of the same thing, even though they were really cool to watch. There's definitely some different elements to this movie. It looks different, sounds different. It just has got a different vibe to it.
You guys also were kind of isolated when you were filming up in what used to be a mental institute, right?
One of the things that I love about the movie is that you feel like you're trapped. Like when you watch the movie, you can't get out. And when we were filming, there were all these signs because it was an old mental institution. So it was made so the crazy people couldn't figure out how to get out. And we being, most of us have sound mind and body, couldn't figure out how to get out. There had to be signs everywhere. Every day I was like, I have no idea where the bathroom is, because we kept moving floors as well and changing sides of the hallways. So it really, and the doors don't open. They just don't. I mean, they've locked from the inside. So all of that is real, and it all plays into the movie, which I thought is cool. It hasn't really been done before. You don't have the dumb girl that like runs upstairs instead of out the front door, and the killer just so happens to be in the kitchen. That doesn't happen with this movie, which is different than most movies that I see.
Outside of trying to figure out how to get out of the actual set, what's the actual atmosphere like when you guys have an intense movie like this, but then a cast of people that you're friends with?
With the twins directing, the vibe on set in general is really fun. They come in, they hug everybody, they're sassy, like they're laughing. I mean, I can hear them laughing, 3 floors up. So they've got this infectious sort of character that keeps everybody wanting to come to work. Because again, these movies are really hard to make with this time frame and the hours you work and the amount of work you put in. So you want that morale to be there. So it keeps you wanting to wake up at, I should say wanting to wake up at 5 at night, because we go into work at 6 and we work till 7 o'clock in the morning. But what I loved about this movie is that it looks different. It's not your typical in the woods, blowing fog and, big, large soundtrack. It's got a really cool vibe to it. And it's essentially our power goes out early on in the movie, so there's all this cool play on lights and shadows and the dark, which is, for me, it's a scary thing.
When it comes here at Comic-Con, in addition to movies and television, there's also a lot of video games. Have you ever played, or do you keep track of what goes on in the horror video game genre?
Unfortunately, no. That doesn't. I mean, they're so like Grand Theft Auto would be like probably the last video game that I played, maybe the first one, and that to me is so like. Is that horror? That might be considered horror. It is.
Resident Evil, right? Would be classic.
Evil, yeah. But like even those movies, like you're still killing people, right? So they're like exploding on the front of the car, and there's like, yeah. So that to me is scary. Is scary. Somebody asked earlier, like, what's scarier, like horror or like reality? Horror movies, reality. It's like, well, reality, but you just mix the two together. It's pretty intense, which I think a lot of those video games are, right? I'm like a Super Mario Brothers back Nintendo. I mean, I play young, but I'm not.
Those aren't very scary.
No. What's scary is the carpal tunnel that comes after you've been playing them for 12 hours.
If you do the Wii, at least you're up there moving around.
Some exercise. I played Wii a couple of years ago. First time I played it, I was at my girlfriend's house. We played the Michael Jackson dance thing, and my friend had this is totally irrelevant. My friend had a new area rug, and my friend was dancing. We were all dancing so much trying to copy that there was like pieces of rug everywhere. And now we went, oh, I get it, cut the rug. Like that's what it means to cut the rug. So that's the last video game that I played.